Okay, welcome everybody. Buenas tardes a todo. I am Anthony Boyd, and yes, that is really me, I promise. Not too long ago either, but clearly I need some new photos. I'm a product manager at Development Seed, and I've been working on this project that I'm about to share with you all for the last 4 years or so. But I have a problem. Okay, I cannot stand the amount of screenshots that I see on the internet. I want you all to think to the last time that you published some of your work or some research. How many hours went into the data that you shared through that work? Maybe 100? Maybe 1,000? Maybe more? So it always blows my mind when I see scientists talk about their work online, and then I see a screenshot like this. And it will always say blurry, don't worry, you're not going blind. I'm not doing this to call anyone out because we all do it, myself included, but I think it's time to change. Okay, it's 2026. We can FaceTime someone on the other side of the planet. I can talk to a machine, have them help me with my dinner, write some code, fix my relationship issues, all in like 10 minutes. I'm still hoping for the third one this year, but I'm optimistic. It's time for this to change. So at Development Seed, we are building open source tools in the hopes of changing this. For context, Development Seed is a software consulting company. We end up working a lot with government agencies, NGOs, other like-minded organizations who just want to make the world a better place. So we spend our time making open source libraries and tools for all the different workflows and use cases for geospatial data and especially remote sensing data. And through that, we have developed a few core storytelling beliefs. Now, quick note, when I talk about storytelling here, I'm not necessarily talking about like the content of the story. There was a really excellent session yesterday about how to write better science stories. I'm sort of assuming that you're coming with a good story, and then you're bringing your excellent data, and then I'm focusing on how to maximize engagement with your audience with that data that you're already bringing. So the first core belief is just that. Engaging is understanding. Okay, what do babies do anytime they interact with something new? Okay, like human babies. They probably touch it. They want to feel it, right? Maybe they're going to put it in their mouth. Okay, this is what they do to understand this new thing in the world. They have to engage with it. Okay, and just like a human baby, I want to put your data in my mouth. Okay, and not actually, I promise. But the second principle here is that data and story ownership is super important. The ethos behind this, I think we all are on the same page in this conference. I've already seen this in a very strong way here. But we really believe that as scientists or communities are producing these stories and these data, that it's important for them to own it into the future. We don't want to just hand that over to some third party without thinking about it. And then the third is to make it easy to maintain. Okay, I think everyone in this room wants to spend most of their time doing conservation. And so if I'm now talking about you have to own your story and own your data, I don't want that to become your job. Yes, storytelling is a really important part of conservation, but I don't want it to take over. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about VEDA then. So it stands for Visualization, Exploration, and Data Analysis. And it's a project with NASA, and I love that after I just gave you this big long rant about no more screenshots, the first thing I do is show you some screenshots. But I wanted to show that there's a few different variations of storytelling. The one on the left, narratives, is I think what most of us think of when we think of stories, right? It's a highly curated set of information that you're giving to the reader, and you're giving them exactly what you want to see, what you want them to see. The second group is maybe something we don't think of as stories very often, and these are these like browser-based map visualization tools, like anytime you go to Google Maps or a tool like that. We might not think of that as a story, but there are design decisions that you make when you're designing that tool and you're deciding which layers to put in. You might add some additional layers for context over your data, and that tells a story. And then the third category are portals, or just think of it as like websites. And this probably feels even further from a story, but imagine you go to a conference like this, someone says, hey, what have you been working on? Maybe you just want to send them a URL that says, here's what my team's doing right now. The minute they visit that site, you're telling them the story of your team's work. So each of these 3 categories is an opportunity to tell more engaging and interactive stories. So one example on the VEDA project of where we've done this, I'm just scrolling through one of the portals here, and you can see it's some data that this science team at NASA has put together. And I'm able to pull it up in a tool very quickly. I can analyze it or just like visualize it with other layers. And the really unique thing about this portal that we built for them is all of this points to data that's hosted in the cloud. And so if I'm telling a narrative, or I've built a custom tool, or I want to jump into a Jupyter notebook, it's all pointing to the same data. And that's really important. Another piece that's really important here is the open source software that's powering VEDA. And so VEDA, I want you all to think of as just a blueprint or a trailblazing project that has shown you can build portals with custom narratives and custom tools completely using open source software that, for the most part, already existed. And so we've just assembled it in a way that makes it possible to tell engaging stories. Well, let's dive a little bit deeper into some of those 3 principles then. So the first one, engaging understanding. This is not from VEDA. I just love this example. Somebody took Airbnb distribution data in the island of Tenerife and turned it into Minesweeper. So you literally have to avoid the Airbnbs on Tenerife. And it's a great, fun way to just familiarize yourself with how dense the Airbnb or Airbnbs are in Tenerife. And I show it as an example because I want us to get really creative. Like, I don't want just a point-and-click map. I think there's so many different ways that we can go about this. On VEDA, a good example of this are the narratives that we've built. And right in line in our narratives, instead of a screenshot, you can embed a map. You can embed a comparison map or line charts as well. And this invites the users to touch it and feel it and stick it in their mouth, right? To explore further. Maybe they want to jump to Peru and see what the data shows there. And again, to highlight that this is all using cloud-native geospatial formats hosted in the cloud, it is really easy for us to invite them into further research or further exploration in another tool. For data and story ownership, working with NASA, of course, they care a lot about this. And as a science team who has put a ton of effort into your work, you want to somewhat manage the story around it. Obviously, NASA is a massive organization, and it's not going to translate one-to-one to what you all are doing. But I think the ethos there is important. And then lastly, of course, make it easy to maintain. I've talked to a couple people here who are managing their own server stacks at home. That is not at all what I'm suggesting everyone does. I think that is a passion project, and if you want to get into that, great. But I think we need to choose our moments of where to outsource our needs and where we need to put our effort. And so I'm not suggesting that anyone has to become a tech bro by any stretch of the imagination. But okay, how can you get involved? I included a bunch of links here. You can ignore them for now. I just know that these slides are going to get distributed after. So if you want to visit any of the example portals, you can. Everything in VEDA is totally open source. And so you can dig into the code, the documentation. You can see the issues, the GitHub tickets of where we're talking back and forth about what to build next. But I hope that from this presentation and from the VEDA project, you just take a little bit of inspiration, because the community is moving in this direction where it is trying to take advantage of the powerful tools of the internet. And sometimes that looks like building a map. Sometimes it looks like building Minesweeper. And I want everyone here to just take advantage on your own project, get creative, and do something more than just a screenshot. Thank you.